When we look at the other architects in nature, we can clearly see that each one is a miracle of creation. Let us have a look at a few out of the thousands of examples. Termites are small insects resembling ants. They live in colonies and build giant nests for themselves. The building blocks of the nest are bricks made from soil, which worker termites make by using their saliva as mortar. The height of a termite nest can sometimes be as much as 3 or 4 meters. The architecture of these nests, which are like giant skyscrapers when compared to the size of these termites, is stunning. The inside of a termite's nest is full of narrow passages. In the depths of these corridors, some 1.5 million termites work together in great harmony. When we look at a cross-section of a nest, we see that there is a special chamber for the queen, agricultural areas, storehouses, and air conditioning passages. The termites both see to the construction and repair of the nest, and also prepare to meet any potential enemies, as well as engaging in agriculture inside the nest by growing fungus. The survival of such a large population depends on one very important condition: the stabilization of the nest's heat and moisture balance. The solution to this problem is absolutely perfect. Parallel panels are built in the roof area of the termite nest. These panels, made of mud, absorb the moisture given off by the termites' bodies. This moisture evaporates with the heat inside and heads upwards through the nest's air conditioning channels. This evaporation both lowers the temperature of the nest and also ensures a continuous circulation of air. These panels in the termite nest perform a perfect air conditioning function. And there are other amazing examples of termites' construction knowledge. Another species of northern Australia makes nests in the shape of a dagger, very wide but with very fine edges. The secret of these nests lie in their angle to the sun. The nests are at such an angle that at noon, when the sun is at its height, only a very small surface of the nest faces the sun, and thus heat is kept to a minimum. The same angle is employed in all these species' nests, with no mistakes. But the most striking feature of this subject is that the termites, which do all this wonderful building, are blind. So, how do these tiny creatures, which cannot see a centimeter in front of them, construct these giant towers based on fine engineering calculations? How do the 1.5 million termites in one nest manage such perfect cooperation? A famous British naturalist, David Attenborough, makes this comment on the question in one of his documentaries.
Each worker places its pellet of mud in a position demanded by a master plan, though how they're able to do so, we don't begin to understand.
This great plan, which human beings cannot understand, but which termites obey without question, is the inspiration given to these creatures by God. Another of nature's master architects are weaver birds, which build their nests by sewing blades of grass to one another. In order to build a nest, a weaver bird first forms a triangular framework. Then it covers the outside of this frame by tying 3 different kinds of knots. Each nest has a sound frame walls, and an entrance. The first step in the construction of the nest is the tying of a long, thin blade of grass to a thin branch. But that is by no means easy. The weaver bird has a real struggle to tie just one knot. It is very important for this first knot to be in the correct form. Otherwise, there will be no point in continuing with the construction of the rest of the nest. Because if the first knot is wrong, then the rest of the nest will all be wrong too, as they are all based on the first one. The knots multiply over time and take on the form of a hoop. The bird has to carefully calculate the dimension of the hoop it forms. The hoop has to be big enough for itself to enter, but small enough to keep other larger birds out. The bird gets the ideal size for the hoop right at once and every time. After weaving the foundation hoop around it in this manner, it begins to build the roof space. The technique weaver birds use to build their nests is the same as that used by human weavers. They weave the blades of grass by passing them under and over each other. They employ this technique with great patience and eventually construct perfect nests. When one looks at the trees weaver birds live in, they look like giant cities made of hundreds of houses, not just a single one. Every single weaver bird has built a house of the same construction, obeying the same power. Another creature reminiscent of the honeybee with its architectural skill is the paper wasp. This species of wasp chews pieces of wood and uses them to produce cellulose, in other words, paper. Then it uses this paper to build itself a round nest. It makes hexagonal combs, just like the honeybees, from the paper which it sticks to the inside of the roof. It places an egg into each hexagon on the roof. Some 3 weeks later, larvae emerge from these eggs. These larvae demonstrate a surprising intelligence and close up the mouths of the comb. In this way, they avoid falling down under their own weight. After a few more weeks of growth, they emerge from their cells as adult wasps. The young wasps lose no time in throwing themselves into life. Every task they have to perform is inspired in them by their creator, God. The young enlarge the construction which their mothers began. At the end, a rather large colony emerges. The wasp's nest is now a multi-storied apartment block. Every wasp born here will abide by the letter to the inspiration given to it.